لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على الأشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبي إله العالمين أبا القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيت الله الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات. Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. We welcome you to the 7th night of our 2024 Muharram program. We remind you all that the bookstore is open for all 10 nights. It is mainly during these nights we feel a sense of closeness to our religion, and we are here to make knowledge more accessible to you all. One of the cultural sentiments we are accustomed to in Ashura is giving sweets to feed others on behalf of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. If you would like to sponsor a night of sweets on behalf of someone, please see me after the event and one of the organizers, inshallah. Tonight's sweets donation is on behalf of Al-Marhum Hajj Jamil Jum'ah. If we can please recite Surah Al-Fatiha on his behalf. Ba'da salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala. Thank you. And for the nightly donation, and for the general nightly donation, is one of our deceased sisters from the community that passed not too long ago. Her name is Aya Nasrallah, Marhumi Aya Nasrallah. To us, she impacted us in a great way. To many of us, she was loved and a good friend to a lot of us. So please help me recite Surah Al-Fatiha on her soul, Ba'da Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Thank you. Before we get started with our program tonight, we would like to recite a few words from the Holy Quran. Please help me welcome Brother Ali Rida after a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. ثانية على حب الزهراء. ثالثة على حب أهل البيت. اللهم صل على أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. هو الذي خلقكم من طين ثم قضى أجلا ثم
ما قضى أجلا وأجل مسمى عنده ثم أنتم تمترون وهو الله في السماوات وفي الأرض يعلم سركم وجهركم ويعلم ما تكسبون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين فقد كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فسوف يأتيهم أنباء ما كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا من قبلهم من قرن مكناهم في الأرض ما لم نمكن لكم وأرسلنا السماء عليهم مدرارا وجعلنا الأنهار تجري من تحتهم فأهلكناهم بذنوبهم وأنشأنا من بعدهم قرنا آخرين ولو نزلنا عليك كتابا في قرطاس فلمسوه بأيديهم لقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا سحر مبين وقالوا لولا أنزل عليه ملك ولو أنزلنا ملكا لقضي الأمر ثم لا ينظرون صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you, Brother Ali Rida. If we can give him another loud salawat. Now, without further ado, please help me welcome Samahat Sheikh Amin Rastani after 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. My brothers and sisters, when we look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam, of course, there's many benefits that one takes from the story of Imam Hussein, the personality of Imam Hussein, the akhlaq and the demeanor of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. One of those things I can say one takes away from Imam Hussein when they think about Imam Hussein alayhi salam is that Imam Hussein keeps us grounded, keeps us humble. I'll give you an example of what I mean. There was a time where, when I was younger and had less responsibilities in life, and was a little freer back in Qom, we were a little more engaged with certain things, trying to work on ourselves spiritually and so on. Clearly, it didn't work. But all in all, we were very much engaged in these things, okay? So after a while, you really feel good about yourself. Not in a bad way necessarily. You're like, hey, this is it. We're in Qom. We are going and sitting in the presence of great scholars and trying to benefit spiritually as much as we can, and so on and so forth. And you do see some progress in yourself and all of that. But you're really destroying yourself over this matter, dedicating yourself, dedicating your time to certain things. Now, I remember the first time, it was after they overthrew that Mal'un Saddam Hussein. They had overthrown him, we got to go to Karbala for the first time. Okay? Went to Karbala for ziyarah, came back. Now, me being the super spiritual person I thought I was, when we went for ziyarah, and I was just looking at the dome, I still remember, it was before all these renovations happened. It was that simple, haram that it was in the past. Just looking at the dome, and you're just thinking to yourself, man, look at me killing myself to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thinking that I'm making progress, and inshallah we are making some progress, feeling a little good about myself, not in a bad way. But in the end, you look at what Imam Hussein did and you're just like, man, just shut your mouth, please, to yourself. You tell yourself. Like, who do you think you are? Look at the greatness of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and how much of a nothing I am, thinking I'm something. Imam Hussein's rank, something that is incomprehensible. And so I remember I felt kind of bad about myself, that thinking that, I'm something, alhamdulillah, a little more special than I was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, let's say. But you get grounded, he humbles you. I went back to Iran, or back to Qom, spoke to one of these big akhlaq teachers. I spoke to him, I said, when I went to Imam Hussein, I was looking at it, and this is a teacher that we would go to a lot, and we would get instructions from him, and so on. I felt like I'm absolutely nothing. All the work that I've done really isn't anything really. Just looking at the dome of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. His answer was, this is very good. This is good. And this is the point I'm trying to make. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in the end, he gets rid of certain things that we might have that are holding us back. How? By humbling us, by sitting us down, because of his greatness. I learned to be humble and just keep my mouth shut and not think that there's something special about me. Why do I say all of this, brothers and sisters? Because there are certain things Allah is sensitive about. So what we want to talk about today is one of those things that Allah is sensitive about. That you and I, in life, when we are trying our best, we're struggling, sometimes making mistakes, falling down, etc. In the end, at least we're careful not to encroach on those things that Allah is sensitive about. At least that much. In other words, and I don't like to word it like this, but just so that we get an idea of what I'm trying to get. If I am going to make mistakes, if I am going to sin even, let's sin in the right way, not in the wrong way. What does he mean by that? We'll talk about that, okay? If we're going to sin even, let's at least sin in the right way, not in the wrong way. Okay, keep that in mind. What are some of the things, what is that one thing I want to say that Allah is very sensitive about? That even if I'm going to make mistakes in life, at least I don't make that mistake. We'll talk about that. Before that, introduction. Very quick. 15-second introduction. There are some things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some qualities that He has that He's okay if we try to gain some of that for ourselves as well. For example, Allah is the Jawad. And He has Jood. Jood means what? Generosity and so He wants us to also be generous. Forgiving, He also likes for us to forgive, etc. You can think of a ton of examples, right? There are some qualities, they're not too many by the way, that He has that are only for Him. They don't stick to us, they're not applicable to us. They only stick to the one who is perfect, which is Allah Himself. Okay? We're not supposed to fight Allah over those things. Everything else He says, try to be like this, try to be like that. I know I am also generous. I know I'm also forgiving, merciful. You also have mercy. You also be forgiving. You also be generous. But there's one thing He says, this has nothing to do with you, it's all mine. Not because He's selfish or because of any other deficiency that Allah has, astaghfirullah. That's not what the reason is. Because it's not applicable to me. If it was applicable to me, He would say, try to have this too. But we don't have any of that. And what is that? That is called something by the name of kibriya and azama. Alright? Greatness. A person who tries to have greatness versus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I want some of that greatness of yours. He says, no, greatness is only mine. No one else has greatness but me. Do you know why? Because I am the creator and you are the creation. Whenever it comes to these matters, even the Imams, they put their hands up. The Imams are the best of them all, right? The best of the best. But they put their hands up. In the du'as we have it. Imam Sajjad, for example, he will say, Ana, oh Allah, Ana aqallul aqallin. I am the lowest of the low. Sajjad alayhi salam, you're not the lowest of the low. You're higher than everybody else. He says, no. That's not real greatness. Real greatness only belongs to Allah. Now, we've been talking about our old friend in these past nights. He keeps coming up. Tonight he's going to come up as well. Who are we talking about? Iblis. Iblis is the first one who made the mistake and kind of tried to get some kibriya for himself, according to Nahj al-Balagha. I want to read this, it's an excerpt from one of the khutbahs of Nahj al-Balagha, one of the famous ones where Imam Ali, he just goes full on attack mode on shaitan. Alright, he disparages shaitan. I think it's a khutbatul qasi'ah. I think that's number 192 if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the Imam, he starts his khutbah like this. And I want to get to that point where even if we're going to sin, let's do it the right way. Let's not do it the wrong way. Okay, now watch people go out of this program today and be like, Shaykh said it's okay to sin as long as you sin in the right way. No. Please get what I'm trying to say here. If we're going to sin in the right way means at least be careful not to do certain things that really Allah is sensitive about, like shaitan messed up on. What is that? The Imam says, praise be to Allah who wears the apparel, the libas of izz and kibriya. Okay, greatness. The Imam compares greatness, kibriya, to what? To a shirt. Can we ever share shirts with anybody? Yeah, you can share a shirt with somebody by taking it off and giving it to them. But if I'm wearing it, while I'm wearing it, can I share the shirt? No. Shirt is only for me. That's it. You can't share shirts. It looks weird. Okay? It won't fit. If a shirt is your size, you won't be able to fit anyone else in the shirt, correct? The Imam compares kibriya, not jud, not rahma, not ghufran and these things, but rather he compares kibriya, not those other qualities that Allah is okay with us trying to have some of it. But kibriya, real kibriya, only belongs to Allah. It's like a shirt that Allah is wearing. If Allah is wearing a shirt, if anyone's wearing a shirt, you can't share it anymore. The Imam, he says, praise be to Allah who wears the shirt of honor, izzah and kibriya and greatness, and has chosen them for himself instead of his creation. This is only mine. Because all perfection is there, brothers and sisters. We have to understand. Sometimes people say, oh, why is God so arrogant? No, it's not about that. Allah is being real. Everything is here. There's nothing anywhere else. And so Allah says, this is where greatness is, because there is all of you, your existence relies on me. It's like a drop of the sea talking to the sea itself and saying, I exist. The sea says you exist, but man, you barely exist. You barely anything. If anything, you're part of me as if. Yeah, I'm giving you existence. Oh drop, who thinks there's somebody. He chose them for these qualities for himself and not for anybody else, because no one else has greatness. I'm sorry. He has made them inaccessible and unlawful for others. جَعَلَهُمَا حِمًا وَحَرَمًا عَلَى غَيْرِهِ. Like haram, it's haram on others to try to go and try to get them for themselves. He has selected them for his own great self and has hurled a curse on him who contests with him concerning them, concerning those qualities. In other words, if a person tries to struggle and try to get greatness and stuff in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah's curse is on that person. Well, who was the first one who did such a thing? The Imam goes on, he says, then he put his angels on trial concerning these qualities, in order to distinguish those who are modest from those who are vain. Therefore Allah, who is aware of whatever is hidden in the hearts and whatever lies behind the unseen, said, verily I am about to create man from clay. When I have completed and have breathed into him of my spirit, then fall prostrating. So Allah tells the angels, Shaitan was living amongst the angels, I want you to prostrate to Adam. We all know the story. Then the Imam goes on, he says, his vanity stood in his way. Consequently, he felt proud over Adam by virtue of his creation. He said, I'm from fire, right? And boasted over him on account of his origin. I come from fire. Thus, this enemy of Allah is the leader of those who boast. Look at this. It says, فَعَدُوُّ اللَّهِ إِمَامُ الْمُتَعَصِّبِينَ. Shaitan is the imam of those who have ta'assub. We all know what that means, right? Asabiyya, thinking we're the best. وَسَلَفُ الْمُسْتَكْبِرِينَ. He is the forerunner of the vain, of those who have arrogance. It's interesting. Istikbar means when you act like you have kibriya. Shaitan was mustakbir. Others like Fir'aun are mustakbir. This is a word that you don't find it used for Allah. It's a title that's not used for Allah. The title used for Allah is mutakabbir, the one who has greatness and then says, here I am, this is greatness. Allah is mutakabbir, but He's not mustakbir. Mustakbir means you fake. It's not really yours. Now, if a person tries to be mutakabbir and shows greatness, then what we can tell is that, okay, you're actually not mutakabbir, you are mustakbir. So here it says, the imam of mustakbirin is shaitan. The first one to be mustakbir is shaitan himself. So if anyone out there is arrogant and thinks there's something special about them versus God, versus the Prophet, versus Ahlul Bayt, then in reality, who's their imam? Their imam is shaitan. It is he who laid the foundation of factionalism quarreled with Allah about the robe of greatness. He's like trying to tug it off of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you doing? Put on the dress of, whatever this word means, haughtiness. Haughtiness. Sometimes the translation needs translation. And took off the covering of humility. Do you not see how Allah made him low on account of his arrogance, his vanity, and humiliated him for his thinking that he's high and boasting about how high he is and stuff like that. He discarded him in this world and provided for him burning fire in the next world. Brothers and sisters, sometimes somebody sins and says, I'm sorry, oh Allah, I'm too weak. Sometimes somebody sins and turns around to Allah and says, oh Allah, this is how I want to do it. What are you going to do about it? There's two different ways of sinning, brothers and sisters, even. Once again, I'm not saying we should sin at all. Okay? I'm not saying we should sin at all. There's hadith that says sin is like the knife that cuts through me, cuts through your iman. When I sin, when I disobey Allah, practically I'm saying myself, my desires, my nafs is more important than you, O Allah. Your iman takes a hit. Iman means I believe Allah is the greatest, right? When I sin, what am I actually saying? Practically telling Allah, oh Allah, you're not the most important one. There's someone else that's more important. This is me. Right? So this takes a hit at our iman. So no one's saying let's sin. But if I'm sinning, at least let's not be arrogant in addition to that. Because that's going to be worse. And I want to share some of the literature we have in this regard. Of how, look, in the end, you and I are not perfect. Just acknowledging that I'm not perfect and Allah is perfect makes up for the mistakes that we made. Look at this dua. This is either dua Arafah or if it's dua Abu Hamza. I think it's dua Arafah. It says, I'm going to go through it very quickly, very fast in Arabic because it's just so nice. The Imam is talking about what Allah has done for him. And then after going through all that Allah has done for him, he says, this is what I've done in return. This is how bad I am. This is how good you are. This is how bad I am. In other words, oh Allah, no matter what happens, at least I'm acknowledging that there's no greatness here and all the greatness is there with you. So it goes like this. وَإِنْ أَعُدُّ نِعَمَكَ وَمِنَنَكَ وَكَرَائِمْ مِنَحِكَ لَا أُحْصِيهَا. Oh Allah, if I was to try to count and enumerate the blessings that you've given me and the favors you've bestowed upon me, I won't be able to count it. Ya Mawlai, Anta alladhi an'amt. You're the one who blessed. Anta alladhi ahsant. You're the one who did good. Anta alladhi ajmalt. You're the one who made beautiful. Anta alladhi afdalt. Anta alladhi akmalt. You're the one who made complete. Anta alladhi razaqt. You sustained. Anta alladhi waffaqt. You gave tawfiq. Anta alladhi a'tayt. You're the one who gave. Anta alladhi aghnayt. You're the one who made me sufficient, self-sufficient. Anta alladhi aqnayt. Anta alladhi awayt. Anta alladhi kafayt. Anta alladhi hadayt. Guided. Anta alladhi asamt, protected. Anta alladhi satarat, covered. Others don't know about what I've done in life. Anta alladhi ghafart, anta alladhi aqalt, anta alladhi a'zazt, anta alladhi a'ant, anta alladhi adat, anta alladhi ayyat, anta alladhi nasart, anta alladhi shafayt, cured. Anta alladhi afayt, anta alladhi akramt, tabarakta wa ta'alayt, falaka alhamdu da'ima. All praise is due to you. Look at all the good stuff that you're about. You're about all this good stuff. فَلَكَ الْحَمْدُ دَائِمًا وَلَكَ الشُّكْرُ وَاصِبًا أَبَدًا. Okay, shukr and hamd belongs to you. But then, let's talk about me now. The Imam says, teaching us, this is the mindset, this is the perspective we're supposed to have. ثُمَّ أَنَا. Oh Allah, now let's talk about me. ثُمَّ أَنَا. Let's talk about me. Ya Ilahi, al-mu'tarif bi-dhunubi. Number one, I confess that I've done wrong. فَغْفِرْهَا li. Oh Allah, forgive my wrong, my dhunub, my sins. Ana alladhi. I am the one. Alladhi, of course, in Arabic, you guys say illi. Ana, the one who. Okay? Ana alladhi akhta'at. Or asa'at. I've done bad. Ana alladhi akhta'at. I am the one who made mistakes. Ana alladhi hamamt. I made for bad things. I went towards them. Ana alladhi jahilt. Ignorance. Ana alladhi ghafalt. Ana alladhi sahawt. Ana alladhi i'tamat. Ana alladhi ta'ammat. Purposely did wrong things. Ana alladhi wa'at. I'm the one who promised. Ana alladhi akhlaft. And I broke the promises. أنا الذي نكثت أنا الذي أقررت أنا الذي اعترفت اعترفت بنعمتك علي وعندي وأبوء بذنوبي فاغفرها لي. So all of this, أنا, I'm this. Here you don't see anything the Imam saying that's good about himself. But Imam, you're so good. He says, shh. You don't say these things in the presence of greatness. I don't have any greatness. What are you talking about? Oh, I get you, Imam Hussein. Wink, wink. Right now, because we're in the presence of Allah, this is how we talk, but otherwise we know there's some greatness. He says, no, I actually mean it. And you should mean it too. Because you ain't no Imam Hussein, for sure. Even Imam Hussein understands, like when it comes to me looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything else is nothing. Everything else. Ana aqallul aqallin. Imam Sajjad says, I am the lowest of the low. But you're the highest of the high. He says, yeah. When I'm looking at it in this horizon, yeah, I might be better than a lot of the other people, but Allah's at the top looking down on all of us. We're all the same from above. We're all creation, and He's the creator. No matter how great we're going to be, if you're created, that itself is lowest of the low. I'm sorry. So brothers and sisters, this is a little bit of what we have here, that the Imam says, oh Allah, everything good you, everything bad me. Okay? Let's add to that. Istighfar. Why do we do istighfar? We say, Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Oh Allah, forgive me. We say istighfar, and we do istighfar when we have wronged, when we have done something wrong, when we've sinned, right? But did you know it's mustahab in and of itself? Even if you're ma'soom and you haven't sinned, it's still mustahab for me to say Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. What's going on here? This istihbab, yes, the least is that you say, oh Allah, I'm sorry that I even see myself as an independent being. It's all you. Istighfar in and of itself. We have hadith that the Prophet, if I'm not mistaken, he would do istighfar every day, maybe 70 times. Well, does that mean he's sinned 70 times? God forbid. No. Istighfar itself is acknowledgement of, oh Allah, you're the best, and I'm nothing. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. In and of itself. Now someone here might say, oh, why are we being so negative towards ourselves? This is going to affect us negatively and all of that. No, we're being realistic about it. Being negative, to be negative, they say, okay, you have some negatives in you, but look at the positives. Yeah, that's in this life. But when I look at greatness, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when I see perfection, that's Allah. What's the opposite of perfection? It's imperfection. It's all limitation, it's all restriction. I'm just being real about it. I am acknowledging that I am nothing, oh Allah, compared to you. Nothing, absolutely nothing. It's very important that we don't let things get to us sometimes. In the secular world, you look outside today, everyone's saying, have self-esteem. I remember one of these great ulama, in Farsi we call this i'timad binafs, which means al-i'timad ala nafs, on yourself, to have self-reliance, self-esteem. He said, we don't have anything like that in Islam. We have Allah-esteem. Okay? That means, I feel good about myself. Why? Because I have Allah, that's why. And if it's going to be myself, man, am I going to be in trouble? But here they say, yeah, you are everything. You're this, you're that. No, I'm nothing. Allah's everything. Even that famous saying that they attribute to Imam Ali, that, yeah, do you think you're something insignificant? You have the universe in you, all that kind of stuff. If there's anything that I have, it's because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because independently myself. We have to keep that in mind. The more I take myself down before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not before khalqullah, but before Allah Himself, the higher I go actually. The higher I go. The more I don't see myself, that means what am I seeing? I'm seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? And so I go higher actually. That's why some of these greats, what they're after is something called, I don't like to talk about this stuff here, but they're after this thing called fana fillah. Total annihilation in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They reach this perspective, they taste it, they see it, that I'm nothing and Allah is everything. And so as a result of that, think about it. As a result of that, they become so great. Not in the eyes of the people. Who cares about the people? They grow. It's like, let's go back to that drop of the sea. It's like a drop of the sea that says, here I am. Hear my roar. I don't know, I'm beating my chest, and you're a drop of water, bro. So, but once this drop of the sea goes back to the sea and becomes one with the sea, now there's greatness. It's become one with greatness. The more I understand that I'm a drop and that I have to connect to eternity and infinity, which is Allah, the greater I get. The more I remove the particularities of myself, this perception that I have that I am something. You're nothing. Go into the sea so you become something. That only happens when I give up myself and I understand that it's all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we talk about these in theory. I'm telling you these things right now. I don't even know what I'm talking about. These are things that one has to reach. And one can only reach through a lifetime of obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and continuing the path of obedience of Allah. And if Allah wants, He will give us this perspective when the time is right and we have the capacity for it. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So going back to that story of myself, you do some ibadah, you think there's something special, you're happy about yourself and all that, which is fine. You can be proud of yourself. You can be proud of yourself, little one. But all in all, the Imams have taught us that be very careful. Always keep that humility. Even if you're doing ibadah. It's a famous hadith, it's a favorite of mine. That Imam al-Kadhim tells his son, قَالَ لِبَعْضِ وُلْدِهِ, he told one of his sons, يَا بُنَيَّ عَلَيْكَ بِالْجِدِّ, I want you to be serious about stuff. Right? No compromise. No laziness, nothing. You go strong. بالجد. Strong about what? What do I have to be careful about? لا تخرجن نفسك من حد التقصير في عبادة الله. Never look at yourself and be like, when it comes to your worship of Allah, and feel like you've done what was due. You got it right. No. Always see yourself as a muqassir, falling short in what you've done. Falling short in what you've done when it comes to ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? لا تخرجن نفسك في عبادة الله وطاعته فإن الله لا يعبد حق عبادته. Why? Because Allah can never be worshipped the way He deserves to be worshipped. You see, they're always trying to make sure that we keep that in the back of our minds. That don't think that, because the moment you think you did it right and you got it done, that's where you're going to stop. That's where we stop. You're hurting yourself. I'm hurting myself. By thinking that I got it right, alhamdulillah. No, He says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not ever going to be worshipped the way He deserves to be worshipped. That's why you got to keep going. Keep going. Because the more you go, the more you're going to benefit. And so this brings me to this point that, brothers and sisters, that's the ibadah side of things. That I don't give myself benefit of the doubt there, then absolutely, positively, when I'm doing something wrong, there at least I should for sure not put my chest out and say, this is what I'm doing, so what? No. I don't care what you want, oh Allah, or I know better, or this rule shouldn't be like this, and all of that. No. We're going into shaitan territory. Right? I'm becoming a little tiny, puny, mini shaitan when I do that. Shaitan's going to love it. And so that's why our Imams teach us, you did something wrong? Well, get it right at least. How? When I do something wrong, how can I get it right? He says, you did something wrong, that's fine. Is it the end of the world? No. You're not perfect. Just tell Allah, oh Allah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's that simple. The Imams have taught us this. Oh Allah, when I did what I did, I'll read the Arabic to you in a minute. When I did what I did, which was wrong, oh Allah, I didn't do it because, I have a problem with you, or I know better, or I think that you can't do anything about it. No. I just did it because I'm just weak, man. I'm just weak. I'm sorry. The Arabic, it says, كَأَنَّكَ أَغْفَلْتَنِي وَمِنْ عُقُوبَاتِ الْمَعَاصِي جَنَّبْتَنِي. It reached the point, oh Allah, it has reached the point that I feel like you've kept the bad consequences of my bad deeds away from me, as if. Allah gives us respite. Gives us another chance. Okay? Respite, it's respite. I used to say respite, it's wrong. Look it up. It's a respite, yes. You're comparing it to despite, and you say, oh, it must be respite, or no, it's respite. All right, so Allah keeps giving us this another chance. Eventually we feel like, hey, apparently there's no punishment. No. Or Allah, maybe Allah forgot. No, Allah didn't forget. He's just giving us more of a chance. Either I get worse and worse, or I use this opportunity to become better again. It says, كَأَنَّكَ أَغْفَلْتَنِي وَمِنْ عُقُبَاتِ الْمَعَاصِ جَنَّبْتَنِي. Now this is the crazy part. The Imams can speak like this. Otherwise, we don't have any right to speak to Allah like this, okay? But because the Imams have spoken like this in their du'as, we can recite these du'as. It says, كَأَنَّكَ اسْتَحْيَيْتَنِي. I'm the one who's sinning, so I should be ashamed before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have haya. It's upon me to astahi. But it's the dua says, the Imam is saying to Allah, it's as if you have haya from me and you have shame before me. Like what? Like this itself is enough to sit down and weep over ourselves, that we have such a Lord that the Imams speak to Him in this way, and yet we still go around, I'm talking about us, meaning us as humankind, saying that, oh, this God doesn't love us, this guy just wants to punish us, this guy is just full of wrath and anger, look what he did to these people, look what he did to that people, and so on. No. كَأَنَّكَ اسْتَحْيَيْتَنِي. It's as if, instead of me having haya towards you, it's as if you have haya towards me. You're like, okay, he sinned, I'm not going to bring it up. Oh, he sinned again, I'm not going to punish him. What is it? Like, do you have haya? Tastahi from me? Is that what it is? No. Ilahi lam a'sika hina asaytuk. Oh Allah, if I disobeyed you when I did, it wasn't that I was birububiyatika jahid. It's not that I don't believe in your lordship and your rububiyyah. The Imams are spelling it out for us. They're spoon feeding us. They're saying, look, a person who did something wrong, have this perspective. Say, oh Allah, when I disobeyed you, I didn't disobey you because I don't believe you're the Lord. No, I believe you're the Lord. Wala bi'amrika mustakhif. It's not that I take your commands lightly or something. No, it's not. That's not the case either. I don't take your commands lightly. That's not the case. Wala li'uqubatika muta'arrid. I'm not trying to make myself subject to your punishment either when I do this. I'm not interested in that either. Some of these people of the past, during the time of the prophets, they weren't like that. What they did was, they weren't like this. What they did was, they said, tell your Lord to send down the punishment if you would like to, if He wants to. What are you talking about? Don't send punishment down on what do you mean? The Imam is saying, I'm not after your punishment. وَلَا لِوَعِيدِكَ مُتَهَاوٍ. Also, when I went against you, oh Allah, when I sinned, when I disobeyed, it's not that I'm taking your vows and promises for punishment lightly. No, it's none of that. So we see 4 things the Imam knocks out. The Imam knocks out 4 things, rules out 4 things. I believe in your Lordship. I don't take your punishment lightly. I don't want to make myself subject to your punishment like those dumb people of the past that would say, oh yeah, send the punishment if you're right. What are you talking about? And I'm not taking your commands lightly. 3 words. Lakin, but, khati'atun aradat. That's what it was. It was a mistake I made. Oh Allah. That's all it was. I'm sorry. You know, I'm not going to philosophize. I'm not going to justify. I'm not going to try to say, oh Allah, I'm just weak, man. I'm sorry. A lot of us struggle with things these days. Yeah, it's fine. Just make sure you never turn around to Allah and say, it is what it is. So what? No. All right? I just can't wake up for prayer. I'm sorry, oh Allah. It's just hard for me. Right now is not the time for me. I feel like it's not the time for me to, like, let's say, observe hijab properly. It's not the time. I just can't. All right, fine. But at least make that acknowledgement that, oh Allah, it's because of me. I'm not going to turn around on you and say, it's because of you. You're the problem. No, I'm the problem. I just can't. I'm sorry. There's at least some hope there. Shaitan didn't turn around and say, oh Allah, I just can't do this sajda. I'm sorry. He started arguing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some things Allah is sensitive about. Not because of a deficiency in Him, because there is that the greatness is only there. There is no greatness anywhere else. وَسَوَّلَتْ لِنَفْسِي وَغَلَبَنِي هَوَايَ. Oh Allah, it was a mistake I made. My desires made this thing nice in my eyes. And my hawa, my desires took over me, غَلَبَني. And so on and so forth. And then I fell for the fact that you don't expose me right away when I do something wrong. No, you hid it from others. You had that favor upon me still. So all of these things, oh Allah, I did it. فَقَدْ عَسَيْتُكَ وَخَالَفْتُكَ بِجُهْدِ فَالْآنَ مِنْ عَذَابِكَ مَنْ يَسْتَنْقِذُنِي. Oh Allah, alright, here we are. And I've done these wrong acts. From here on now, who's going to save me from your punishment? Other than you. Who is going to take care of me other than you? I did something wrong, okay, alright, it's done, it's over. I can't go back and change it now. I'm doing tawbah. Oh Allah, other than you, who is going to help me? See, Allah just wants us to acknowledge this much, it seems, based on the du'as that the Imams are teaching us. That understand that if you made a mistake, it was you. And if there's anyone who's going to help you, it's him. Shaitan didn't do that. Or like we have another thing, another du'a. Somewhere else it says, this one's nice actually. Look at how they talk to Allah. They say, oh Allah, if you come after me and you call me out for my sins, I'm going to call you out for your forgiveness. Look at that. It's as if we're going back and forth with Allah, even arguing with Allah, but not the way Shaitan argued. You don't say, oh Allah, if you tell me, why'd you do this? I'm going to say, well, why'd you say I shouldn't? No. If we're going to sin the right way. You know what I'm saying? Okay? Doesn't mean we should be sinning at all, but you get the point. I've made the disclaimer more than once. Invite me again, inshallah. Alright? No, I'm just kidding. If you are going to point out my mistakes, I'm not going to point out the fact that I know better than you or something like that, like Shaitan. No, Shaitan can go to hell. Literally. Okay? I'm going to point out your afu, your forgiveness. The Imams are teaching us this is how you talk to Allah. Oh Allah, I made a mistake, I need your forgiveness because you got forgiveness. Where is it? لَإِن طَالَبْتَنِي بِاللُّؤْمِ. If you point out my wretchedness, yeah, you know what I'm going to do? لَأُطَالِبَنَّكَ بِكَرَمِكَ. I'm going to hold you to your karam and your nobility and your dignity and your awesomeness. لَإِنْ أَدْخَلْتَنِي النَّارِ. If you put me in the fire, that's going to hurt. But guess what? Even when I'm suffering there, لَأُخْبِرَنَّ أَهْلَ النَّارِ بِحُبِّ لَكَ. I'm going to let everybody know I love him. This is how you talk. Yeah? Shaitan, you know what happened? Shaitan, when Allah said, you're out of here, buddy. Okay? He kicked him out. Shaitan said, yeah, he said, now that you did this to me, you see it right there. You did this to me. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna misguide all of them. لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. The only ones who are not going to be misguided are the ones that you've chosen and purified. Now, that's what Shaitan said. Now that you did this to me, now that you expelled me, now that you sent me to Jahannam. Here the Imam though, what does he say? Look, I want you to compare these. He says, oh Allah, you sent me to Jahannam. I'm not going to try to get you back for anything. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let everybody know that I love you. Sheesh, come on. This is how Allah wants us to react? Subhanallah. وَسَيِّدِ إِن كُنْتَ لَا تَغْفِرْ. This is the beautiful part. It says, إِن كُنْتَ لَا تَغْفِرُ لِأَوْلِيَائِكَ وَأَهْلِ طَاعَتِكَ إِن كُنْتَ لَا تَغْفِرْ إِلَّا لِأَوْلِيَائِكَ وَأَهْلِ طَاعَتِكَ فَإِلَى مَنْ يَفْزَعُ الْمُذْنِبُونَ. It says, oh Allah, if your forgiveness is reserved for the VIPs, if your forgiveness is reserved for people that are good, the ones who obey you, yeah, your awliya, your close ones, your friends, if your forgiveness is reserved for only them, then the ones who sin, who are they supposed to go to for forgiveness? Look at how he's talking to Allah. Doesn't make sense, oh Allah, I'm trying to figure this out. The good ones, they don't need your forgiveness necessarily because they haven't done anything wrong. The bad ones need your forgiveness. Who are they supposed to go to if your forgiveness is for the good ones only? Isn't that beautiful? You see, we've done something wrong. All right, we did something wrong. But let's not do something worse now, which is have some arrogance. That's where Allah says, no, no, no. Kibriya is for me. Izzah belongs to me. Acknowledge that much at least. We can be friends still. To the point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worried for us. Allah is worried for us that, God forbid, arrogance overtakes my beloved servant. And so there will even be hadiths here. And of course, once again, these are not justification for when we sin. Okay? But we will have hadiths in literature that tell us Allah is so worried that this ujb, this takabbur, this arrogance and self-conceit, goes into our hearts. He's so worried for that the hadith say sometimes Allah will put us in a certain environment maybe, that we fall into sin as a result of it. He didn't force us to sin, but He knows I'm not strong enough. I'll probably mess up. So I'm in a place where I fall into sin. Why? Because when I sin, then I feel like, oh man, I thought I was all that. I'm not all that. Look at how weak I am. Boom! Mission accomplished. Allah says, mission accomplished. This person, their heart broke a little bit. That arrogance that they could have had because they're so good is gone because they made a mistake somewhere. They thought they're flawless, untouchable. No, they made a mistake. They now feel bad about that. They've been humbled. Because guys, a person who sins, it's wrong. But a person who's good and righteous, but as a result, subtly, this creeps into their heart that, Ana shay'un, I am something. That is dangerous. Why? Because shaitan collapsed from that same point. So Allah wants to get us away from that. Look at what the hadith says. It says, Inna Allah alima anna dhanba khayrun lil mu'mini min al-ujb. Allah knew that a sin is better for His servant than ujb, self-conceit. وَلَوْلَا ذَلِكَ مَبْتُلِيَ مُؤْمِنٌ بِذَنْبٍ أَبَدًا. If it wasn't the case, Allah wouldn't let a mu'min fall into sin ever. Does this justify our sins? No, it's getting a point across to us. We'll even have hadiths, okay? And these are ones that we have to be careful and we're not supposed to misunderstand. We're supposed to get the message that it's trying to get across to us. That if all the people were good and righteous people, Allah would create a people that would fall into sin so that He could forgive them. There's a point, there's a message in this, brothers and sisters. It's not that Allah needs to exhibit forgiveness. There's a deficiency on Allah's part here. No, there's a message in this. That forgiveness is something that's there that Allah will exercise. Don't lose hope if you sin. Oh Allah, I sinned. I don't know what to do now. Well, that's what my forgiveness is for, man. Yes. Maybe even if shaitan had done this stuff that we're talking about, he would have... A prophet of Allah, Yunus alayhi salam, he also teaches us this. I don't know if anyone has heard of that famous dhikr al-Yunisi. He got stuck in the belly of the whale. He made a little mistake. It wasn't a sin. He left his people a little sooner than maybe he was supposed to. He reached the point where he was like, I don't think these people are going to embrace the faith. He left them. He's like, the punishment of Allah is going to come. He left, but he left apparently a little sooner than he was supposed to. Instead of 100 times calling them, apparently he had to do it 101 times. He was convinced it's time to go. That little bit that crept in, I'm not going to say he had arrogance, no. The little mistake that he made, that they call it tarkul awla, not making the best decision in that scenario. He left, guess what? His people actually regretted and repented to Allah and embraced faith. What happened to Yunus? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to refine him more apparently. Yunus was convinced that his people are not going to embrace anymore. We can't blame the guy. But he got stuck in the whale's belly. He got stuck in the belly of the belly of the whale. Huh? Today's just not my day. So he got stuck in the belly of the whale, Apparently, my understanding, my guess is that this was a test for Yunus. Is Yunus, guys, listen to this, man. Is Yunus alayhi salam going to turn around and say, "Oh Allah, I was 110% convinced that my people are not going to embrace anymore. I called them day and night. It reached a point where I was convinced." Brothers and sisters, when I'm convinced, I'm convinced. Right now it's daytime outside, right? When we look outside, it's daytime. If the whole world tells me it's night, I'm convinced it's day. I'm seeing it's day. Right? So, the same thing Yunus can turn around and say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He can turn around to Allah and say, "Oh Allah, I was convinced, I was 110% sure that my people will not be guided." But did he say that? He didn't say that. He said, "Oh Allah, this happened to me. You probably know best." And so he said, "La ilaha illa ant, subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin." Oh Allah, I was in the wrong. This is the exact opposite of shaitan. The exact opposite of shaitan. This is all Allah wants from us. That was his said. Good job, Yunus. You passed. You test. He could have argued with Allah. He didn't. Brothers and sisters, you and I, same thing. "Oh Allah, I'm sorry." Now, this is not going to be a justification. This means that out of choosing a sin and then being arrogant about it, or if I'm going to sin and not being arrogant about it and at least being apologetic to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to choose that one because that one's closer to me, inshallah, reaching a point where I don't do the sin anymore. This is my disclaimer again. None of what we're talking about is to justify in any way or encourage in any way sin. No. It's just us understanding the list of priorities out there so that eventually I can reach a point where I'm not doing the sin anymore. That's what we're trying to get at here. That's the ultimate goal. But to get to that ultimate goal, we have to take that step of, "Oh Allah, I'm sorry. Oh Allah, I was in the wrong." That much at least. Yunus teaches us that. "Inni kuntu min al-zalimin." You know who else does that? Who else taught us that? Hur himself taught us that. Hur himself taught us that. He said, "Oh Hussein, I was wrong. I'm going to say it the way it is. Do you let me come back or not?" What did Imam Hussein say? Imam Hussein is like, "Let's not even talk about this, man. We were waiting for you." Allah is like that. The problem with us is we don't see Allah. We don't read His book. And so we sometimes think that Allah is someone that's not that flexible, but Imam Hussein is. Imam Hussein is a ray that is coming to us from the sun itself. And so when we look into this literature, when we look at the history, when we see, like, for example, Hur, and Hur says, oh Hussein, I'm sorry. Hussein says, like, that's enough. You don't need to say anything else. Then what is the Lord of Hussein like? So, brothers and sisters, to wrap it all up, to sum it all up, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, one of the things that it does, because what he did was so great, nothing can compare to it, yeah? And no one out there wants to compare anything to it, yeah? Because it's so great, a person who reflects on Ashura, a person who listens to the musibah of Ashura, thinks about what happened, this humbles them. One of those things that we get about Ashura is that no matter how great I am dirt compared to Ashura Imam Hussein. This itself is growth for us. Imam Hussein allows us to grow through him and his sacrifice. What we need to do is reflect on it a little bit, take from it as much as we can, implement in our lives. One of those most important things is the humility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After everything happens to Imam Hussein, he says, like, "Oh Allah, it's all you. This is what you want? We're good." And so for you and I, the moment some hardship befalls us, we have to understand, if hardship was not to befall us, if there was anyone out there that hardship is not supposed to befall, who is it? It's the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But we go through all this hardship and say, Allah hates me. If hardship is the sign of hate, then he is supposed to hate Hussein the most. That's not the case. We get so much out of this. And so we understand that, okay, no matter what happens, in the end, no matter how good I am, how great I am, Hussein teaches me that I'm nothing. The moment I say I am nothing, that means I have become the drop that has become part of the sea. I become everything. The moment I say I again, that means I took the drop out of the sea. There is no I. Hussein teaches us there is no I. It's all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just need to be careful about these few things. Slowly make our way towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshaAllah ta'ala. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Inshallah, with one salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, we can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness to soften our hearts before we enter into the majalis. Inshallah, allowing more tears to flow and leading to action to change and build from these last nights that we have on Muharram before Ashura arrives, inshallah. And if we can also recite Surah Al-Fatiha on behalf of our sister that recently passed away, and some salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad and Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة وموضع الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة. Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, our beloved holy prophet. And those in your homes that Allah blessed us with guidance and revelation. listen the angels day in and day out. Everybody together, Ya Habibi, Ya Hussein, Nur Aini, Ya Hussein, Ya Habibi, Ya Hussein, Nur Aini, Ya Hussein, our beloved Imam al-Hussein, light of our eyes, Hussein. Tonight, brothers and sisters, is the night dedicated to Ali al-Akbar, the eldest of Hussein's children, the one Abu Abdullah described as the most similar to Rasulullah. A blessed poet describes Imam al-Hussein when Ali al-Akbar is struck during the battle of Karbala. I saw Hussein by his tent almost collapse, choking from his tears, seeping through his teeth's gaps, as if his heart exploded, or his soul perhaps. He cried, "Where are you, my son?" with his voice hoarse. Ali al-Akbar's blood flowed and blinded his horse. It ran to them and their swords with no remorse. Hussein rode like a bird to its nest rescue. The angel of death toward its prey flew. Akbar sent no more. Oh son, how I miss you. Brothers and sisters of Abdullah sacrificed everything in Karbala. Every single thing he had. Water, women and children. Love for the world, desires, and even his own soul. But what was his motto every single time? أرضيت يا رب خذ حتى ترضى. Are you content, my Lord? If not, take until you're content. He lost his companions one by one, and his response was none but the Quranic verses of submission to Allah. These stanzas of Hussein were recurrent throughout the tragedy of Karbala. That morning of Ashura, Ali al-Akbar recited the adhan during Fajr time. This was the final adhan he would recite. The last time his father Abu Abdullah would hear the call to prayer from his beloved voice. It was no ordinary adhan. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Ali al-Akbar was a young man, a role model for our youth in the struggle against oppressors around the world, taking the first initiative from the family of Abu Abdullah, having the will to sacrifice himself first. He came to Abu Abdullah and asked for permission to battle. فلما رأى الحسين رفع شيبته نحو السماء وقال اللهم اشهد على هؤلاء القوم فقد برز إليهم غلام أشبه الناس خلقا وخلقا ومنطقا برسولك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. كنا إذا اشتقنا إلى وجه رسوله نظرنا إلى وجهه. اللهم فامنعهم بركات الأرض وأن منعتهم ففرقهم تفريقا. When Abu Abdullah saw his son coming towards him asking for permission to go to the battlefield, it said that he raised his face towards the sky and says, "O Allah, bear witness to these people, for the young man who has emerged to them is the one who resembles your messenger Muhammad in creation, in character and in speech. When we long for the face of your messenger, we will look at his face. Ya Allah, hold off your provisions from their land, and if you withhold your provisions, disintegrate them and tear them apart, and break them off into disagreeing groups.
and dissatisfies their rulers with them, for they invited us to support us, and then fell back and fought and killed us. Ali al-Akbar knew that Abu Abdullah was permitting him, so he came to bid his farewells to everybody. Imagine Hussein saying goodbye to the resemblance of Rasulullah. He began to hug him, he began to smell his son. The women came out, his aunts clung to him, his sisters hugged him. Abu Abdullah's face changed at the scene. He took his hand and moved him from them. He tells them, let him go, for he is dying in the name of Allah. Ali al-Akbar said goodbye to his father. He mounted his horse and took to the battlefield, shouting to the enemies, Ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali. نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي والله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني أضربكم بالسيف حتى يلتوي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي I am Ali, son of Hussein, son of Ali, in the Prophet God's house, and we have more adequacy. By Allah, the illegitimate will not upon us rule. With this spear I strike until it's split in two. I strike with this sword until bend it my. The strike of a young Alawi Hashimite. He began to fight the groups with the utmost bravery and killed a large number of the enemy soldiers. He killed every man who approached him. Then the enemy leader of the army, Umar ibn Sa'd, yelled out, will no one be brave enough to face the man? It is said that a known enemy soldier, Bakr bin Ghanam, went closer to Ali al-Akbar while Imam al-Hussein was standing at the entrance of the town. Abu Abdullah's facial features began to change. Layla, his mother, looked to Imam al-Hussein and said, did anything happen to my son Ali, master? He replied, no, Layla. However, pray for him, for the man who approached him is who we worry from. Pray for him, for my grandfather Rasulullah once said that a mother's prayer is always accepted. Layla went inside and prayed for her son in the tent. As she said, Ya Allah, bi ghurmati Abi Abdullah, bi atashi Abi Abdullah. Ya Allah, by the estrangement of Abu Abdullah, for the sake of Abu Abdullah's thirst, you are the one who returned Yusuf to Yaqub. Return my son Ali. This time Ali al-Akbar returned to Abu Abdullah after killing Bakr bin Ghanam. What does he tell his father in this moment? Ya abati al-atash qad qatalani وثقل الحديد قد أجهدني فهل إلى شربة ماء من سبيل. He says to his father, Father, the thirst is killing me, and the heaviness of the steel is draining me. Is there a little bit of water that will strengthen me against our enemies? فبكى الحسين وقال وغوثا يا بني من أين آتي بالماء. Abu Abdullah's heart broke with his son's word. As he hears his son's word, he replies to him, Oh son, where will I bring you water from? Go fight a little more, for it is not long until you join Rasulullah, and he will give you water that you will never feel thirsty after drinking. Ali al-Akbar returned to the battlefield. He continued fighting them with his spear until Murra bin Munqidh al-Abdi, the cursed soldier, father came to him and said, may the sins of every Arab be upon me if I don't break his father's heart over him. Ajarakumullah. As Ali al-Akbar was fighting a group of the enemies, this cursed man hit him on the back of his head. He clung to the horse. It is said that the horse of Akbar ran to the enemy tents from blood covering its vision. After Ali's horse went to the enemy tents, it is said that all the enemies attacked Ali and struck Ali al-Akbar from all over. فَقَطَّعُوهُ إِرَبًا إِرَبَايَا. That they cut Ali to pieces. Allahu Akbar. They killed Ali ibn al-Husayn. Abu Abdullah runs to his son. Imagine the scene. A father running to his dead son on the ground who's been struck all over. It is said he went to Ali. He placed his cheek on his son's cheek and said, Bunay Ali, my son Ali, you are now relieved from this world's hardships and calamities and have left them for me to struggle with. May Allah kill those who killed you. Ma ajrahum ala ar-Rahman. May Allah kill those who killed you, Ya Ali. What audacity they have against Allah. Another narration says that Abu Abdullah went and laid down next to his son Ali and hugs his son on the floor. Abu Abdullah requested the youth of Bani Hashim to lift Ali back to the tents. They lifted him and held him back to the camp. The women, along with Layla, his mother, gathering around him, they all started yelling and wailing, while Abu Abdullah stood there watching the mournful scene. May God help his mother's heart. She threw herself on the ground, held him to her chest, and cried as she smelled her son for the last time. Zainab came, her heart in pieces. She saw the sight of Ali al-Akbar and broke into tears. She felt his body and said, Wa walada wa Aliyah. My love, my nephew Ali. It's as if the scenes turned into mourning between Zainab and Hussein over Ali and Akbar. Imagine Hussein seeing his own son mutilated on the grounds of Karbala. What would he say to Zainab? Ali rah Ya Zainab qumi sindini Ali rah علي راح تعالي وعونيني نشد الجراح علي's gone يا زينب rise and hold me علي's gone علي's gone. My heart was broken when I saw him. Ali's gone. Ali's gone. Ya Zainab, rise and hold me. Ali's gone. Ali's gone. My heart was broken when I saw him. Ali's gone. May Allah have mercy upon those who yalla wa aliyah wa shahida wa madluma wa husayna ya wa ghariba ya wa madluma wa shahida. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا على بيت محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. To Allah we belong, and to Him is our return, and soon the oppressors will know what change their affairs will take, and the end times will be for the righteous, Ya Allah. In the name of Hussein, by the right of Hussein, by the thirst of Hussein, by the right of Ali al-Akbar, by the body of Ali al-Akbar, by the broken heart of Hussein seeing Ali al-Akbar, Ya Allah. We ask you to forgive our sins. We ask you to allow us to shed tears and make a change through these majalis. We ask you to give us a good end on the path of truth. We ask you to fill our hearts with the love of Muhammad and the family of Muhammad. We ask you to cure our sick ones and forgive our deceased, Ya Allah. We ask you to bring victory and relief to the oppressed all around the world, specifically those in Palestine, Ya Allah. We ask you to hasten the return of our master, Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, and make us amongst his loyal supporters, Ya Allah. برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلت ولعن الله أمة ظلمت ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلمسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الردي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سيل وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله. لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض. فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، قصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك. أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أبي الفضل العباس وعلى الحوراء زينب وعلى محمد وآله الطاهرين ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين.